I'm Carrie Barrett. I'm the president of the New York Botanical Garden, and I love that we're doing a series of 3 lectures called the Tree Dialogues, which is just fantastic for us at a time when we're watching our trees, learning from trees, and I'm especially glad to have Peter Wohlleben back with us, second time, right? You were here in Ross Hall just last year to talk about your book, The Hidden Life of Trees, and now you're talking about the secret wisdom of nature in the series, and I thank you for the through it, I'll admit, but it's the most amazing book because it ties the other two together. It ties the other two together, and the initial chapter, which ties together sort of flora and fauna, the ways of biodiversity, gives, I think anyone who reads your book will get a whole new appreciation for the importance of landscape, the importance of creating these natural environments.
So, a book is a little bit longer to read than 30 minutes, so I've picked some things out of it, and we start with a non-tree thing. It's this guy. It's not a tree, and it's not me. No, it's a good example. It's a Neanderthal man. A good example how science looked at nature for decades or centuries. I think that many scientists feared other beings to come too close to humans. Therefore, we didn't ask questions, we didn't try to find out things, because I think, and I give you some examples to prove that our ancestors, and even nowadays some scientists, fear that other species comes too close to us. I don't know where the problem is, but it seems to be a problem. The Neanderthal man, his bones were detected in Germany, and the Neanderthal, of course, near Düsseldorf. And the first bones which were detected were crooked, and that was wonderful, because then you could reconstruct the Neanderthal man as something like an ape. Like this. But soon they found out, okay, that was a sick example, and so they found out that the Neanderthal man walked as we do, straight and not bent. So the next problem was the Neanderthal man had a brain size sometimes bigger than ours. Oh. How to explain that? Just a moment. They found an explanation. The Neanderthal man had more muscles than we do. And therefore, many parts of the brain were responsible to steer the muscles. Yeah, you can read that. It's still an explanation for that. But what then about bodybuilders? Is here anyone? So, okay. That's one explanation. The next thing, which was really a problem, is they found a tongue bone in Israel. A tongue bone is a little bone in your tongue, in the back. It's just good for speaking. Chimpanzees, for example, don't have a tongue bone. So the Neanderthal man had tongue bones, and therefore you can say, they spoke. No, scientists say no, that's not proven. They had the ability to speak, but if they really spoke, no one knows. And I think, that's strange, because they also found that the Neanderthal man had in his skull eye holes. So he had eyes, but if he really could see, we don't know. Yeah, but you can read all that in the books. It's still an explanation up to date, but I think it's a little bit strange. The next thing is about intelligence. They found drawings from the Neanderthal man in Gibraltar, and these drawings, and that was the maximum to imagine for a Neanderthal man, is to make signs like a hashtag sign. I don't know, perhaps you saw that in the newspapers. It's like a hashtag sign, and they say, yeah, that's the maximum of art a Neanderthal man was able to do. And then they found wonderful cave drawings from modern man, from Homo sapiens in southern Spain, with those overblown hands and wild animals and even abstract art. And then they analyzed the pigments, and they found out, oops, they are 66,000 years old, and at that time they were just Neanderthal men. Okay. Yeah, but that's exactly how from time to time there's a new discovery, and then they try to explain it in a way that brings the ranking of the Neanderthal man on a lower level. But it doesn't work. And the last defending line was that the Neanderthal man and Homo sapiens never mix, ever. 10 years ago they said never. And nowadays we know that they mix, of course, and depending on where you are from, that 2 to 4% of our genes are Neanderthal genes. So the Neanderthal man even never extinct. He's still there. And he's still there. And we know which things are on the genes. For example, white skin color, blue eyes, red hair, or if you like to smoke or drink alcohol, that's Neanderthal. That's true. That's true. Perhaps you look if Neanderthal man is sitting near you, or woman, of course, not just man. Yeah, that's for me. It's a really good example how we look on nature, because in this way we look on trees, we look on animals, we look on everything like it is on a lower level, and perhaps it is on a lower level. But what is it good for? This information for nothing. We come back to nature, to trees, because it's tree conversation, not Neanderthal conversation. We have understood much about nature so far, and one big thing is the circle of nitrogen. Nitrogen is a fertilizer, and it's the biggest part of the air we breathe is nitrogen, but for plants, when nitrogen becomes available, we need special molecules. These molecules will be created by burning processes like volcano outbreaks or heavy fires or special bacteria. But in general, nitrogen is very rare in nature, and therefore it's for trees, for example, it's important to get some. And along the riversides, most of the nitrogen comes from fish. From fish which are going to come into trees, but not by springing against the stem. Fish are not that stupid like this. No, they have they get help, but not really help. Bears which are doing the job. They feed on fish, and salmon, for example, and then afterwards, when the stomach is full, as you know, you have to go behind a tree, and so you fertilize the tree. That's how the fish nitrogen comes into a tree. And along the riversides in ancient times, up to 80% of the nitrogen in trees were from salmon. In Germany, we don't have bears. We have just a few salmons coming back because the rivers so far has been very dirty because of the industry sited along the Rhine, for example, Rhine River. But now the rivers become clearer and clearer, and now we have the salmon back, but we don't have bears so far. But we have the car industry. You all heard about Dieselgate? UW, for example? Yeah, that means a lot of salmon for the trees. That means, for example, I calculated all the nitrogen which is coming out of the cars, because it's a burning process. That's the problem with Dieselgate. It's the nitrogen molecules. It's NOx molecules, which are hazardous for our health. So it's when you calculate it per year and square kilometer, it's the equivalent of 170,000 big salmons per square kilometer per year. What's coming out of the cars? So that's much too much for trees. Therefore, they begin to grow faster, 30% faster at the moment. And that's unhealthy for trees, because trees love to grow very slow. So at the moment we don't have the problem that the trees don't get enough nitrogen, they get too much from the car industries. And I would love to bring the process back to nature. Make it like this, or perhaps in Germany, in a very crowded country, brown bears are perhaps a problem, but we can do it with birds. Cormorants, for example. do the job also. And then we have a problem with fishers who like to eat the salmon on their self and try to shoot the birds. So it's always a problem. We are not really intact with the network and wisdom of nature in Germany, but we are still learning. Here we have a good example how hard it is to understand nature. We think nature is a clockwork, and we just have to know all the wheels, and then we know how it works. That's crazy. I don't know if you read about the research in the Central Park, where scientists take soil proofs, and they detected more than 100,000 new bacteria in singular cell organism. With one go through the Central Park. One take 100,000 new species. They don't even have a name, and we don't know what they are doing. And they are very small. You say, what is a bacteria on Earth? But the smaller a species is, the more valuable it is for the ecosystem, because it's on the bottom, on the starting line of the circle of how do you say, circle of nutrition, food chain, yeah, right. Yeah, you know where you come, the more important the species become. And 100,000 unknown species, just by coincidence. So here's one species, that's the European crane, and it's protected by law, and the numbers increased heavily, which is a great success for nature protection and environmentalists. But they don't thought about what's going to happen next. The cranes flying in wintertime down to Spain, and they have to feed on something. And they feed on acorns. And that causes problems for the farmers there. Because, I don't know if you know the Iberico ham, which is produced there. And therefore, the farmers plant oaks, because the pigs can feed on acorns. Now, we Germans are proud of our crane population, which is away in wintertime, is in Spain, and feeds on acorns so that the pigs there don't have enough to feed, and the farmers have no ability to produce as much ham as they want to produce. So they hate cranes. And now the solution isn't to shoot the cranes. The solution would be to have more oak forests back. Because Spain, when you think about Spain, I think you think about pine trees. But Spain is by nature a country with primeval forest of oaks. No pines. That's artificial in Spain. There are oak trees, and the best solution would be to bring more oak forest back, so that the cranes and the pig have enough to feed. But when you want to rescue a species, you have to rescue the ecosystem. And mostly conservationists in former times just focused on one species and say, okay, you increase numbers and then all is good. No, you have to increase the ecosystem of this. Here's a special sort of ecosystem which we don't think about very often at nighttime. When you have the street lights on, or in your garden, a wonderful solar cell light, you say, oh, that's very eco-friendly. No, it isn't, because those lights doesn't attract moth, for example. We think, those moths love light. No, they hate light. And you say, why are they so stupid to fly against the light? It's because they think it's the moon. And they want to fly straight, for example, and say, okay, when I want to fly straight in this direction, the moon has to be always on the left side. Then it's a straight direction, because how would you orientate in the dark night? Okay, you have a light on the left side, okay, when it's always on the left side, I'm in the right direction. So they pass this light, and then the light is in the behind position. The moth thinks, oh, I've made a curve, so I have to correct my way on the left side, so I'm on the straight way. And this moth fly 1 or 2 meters, and again the light is behind the moth. And she, oh, what am I doing? I'm always going in the right direction. I have to go to correct it on the left to be straight. And then it comes closer and closer, and then it's trapped by the light, because the moon is always behind. It's not possible to have the moon on the left side. That's the reason why you have all those insects around the land. They hate the light. They want to fly straight, and they are no longer able to. And the ecosystem around this light changes completely, because you have always one thick spider in there. Yeah, it is. And you can research that. around this light, the whole insect life changes. And therefore, the best solution is when you don't need it, switch it off. That's very easy. Because, for example, in the streets of New York City, the street lights are burning the whole night, and as you know, trees, for example, are not able to sleep. And it's so far well-researched sleeping behavior of trees, also here in the United States, and we know that trees which are standing near a street light which isn't switched off during the night, they will die earlier, much earlier, because they can't sleep. We know, for example, that trees, when they sleep, they hang their branches down a little bit. And the stem is pumping up at night. That's the sleeping behavior of trees. We don't know why they do that, and they don't let the branches hang down because the water pressure sinks. It's rising because the stem is pumping up. So they let the branches hang, and with sunrise, the branches go up. It's around about 10 centimeters or so. And when there is a street light burning the whole night, a tree can't fall asleep. And therefore it dies early. It's similar to us. When we look at nature, that's a bat which lives in big trees with caves in it. And when we think about how other beings look at the world, we use crazy expressions. For example, we think that a bat hunts with ultrasonic sound. It's like shouting out and hearing what the echo brings back. Yeah, you know that. So, but it's not like, hello, moth. Bat like this wouldn't be successful. I don't know if you know how many pictures you can see per second. How many pictures you can differ per second? When you watch a movie or whatsoever. In former times you say 20, nowadays with you say perhaps 40 or so. Do you know how often a bat cries? What's the frequencies? 100 times per second. Yeah, and so a bat gets a sharper picture than we. And it can differ the size of the hair. So it's a very sharp picture. The only difference to our seeing is that a bat sees just in black and white. That's all. But it's not like listening to an echo. But, and that's what we think when we talk about bats. So it's just a different sort of eyes. Here we have a special sort of farming. It is farming. You know that are lice which are suckling plant sugar, we think. No, they don't seek sugar, they want to have protein. There's just a little protein in plants, so they have to drink a lot, and you know what they're doing afterwards when you park your car under a tree. Yeah, it's all over with sugar drops. It drops. I don't know if you know where the forest honey comes from. It's not from flowers, it's from those lices. You know this dark brown forest honey, which is delicious, but you know where it's come from. It's a fecal, how do you say fecal honey? And ants love that too, and they harvest around the year about 200 liters of this liquid, and they like the lices to stay at the plant. And therefore they do it like we do it. They fence them in. But they fence them in nicer and smarter than we do. They don't build a fence. They gas out some drugs like opiates from their feet around the lices, and when the lice pass this line, it nearly falls asleep. And therefore it stays in. And but lice are not that stupid, so they try to escape by building wings. And the ants are doing the same that we do when we want to keep bees, for example. They cut the wings. So it's exactly what we do. And ants are now biological robots. Yeah, that's what we think. They are something like a superorganism. that brings them on a lower rank, the individual, because it's like a brain cell, a single ant. No, it's an individual. And as we know from bees, which are related to ants, that's a new research from different universities that bees are conscious. They know where they are, they know who they are. You know perhaps that bees are, how we thought it, gets like a program where to search after flowers and blossoms. There's like a dance in the hive, and they get the program. Go 2 miles in this direction and they find sunflowers, for example. Yeah, that's true, but meanwhile perhaps the farmer has cut the sunflowers, and then, if it would be a program, the bee would have to fly back to the hive. No, but the bee is intelligent. He said, oh, why should I fly back? I know the other ones are over there in this field, so I shorten the way and fly straight over to in this direction. The bee knows where it is. It's not a program, it's just an information which the bee gets in the hive. But that's the way we look at nature. Think about the Neanderthal man. We found this pattern of signs in all research, whether it are ants, Neanderthal man, trees, or whatsoever. And therefore, we always look at other beings like being robots. Or nowadays we would say like a genetically driven computer program. Here's another thing about nature. You find it every day in your coffee. It's about groundwater. Groundwater is one of the biggest ecosystems, not very well researched so far. It's under your feet here right now. It goes into depth of, let's say, 3 miles or so. And in those depths, all things are different. For example, bacteria, they double just every 500 years. They're very, very slow process going on. And groundwater goes up until your tap. Until it reaches your tap. That's a complete system in the inner of water tubes. There are bacteria, there are little animals which feed on bacteria, there are little crabs which feed on these animals which feed on bacteria. It's a complete ecosystem. And this ecosystem differs. I think I read a report 4 weeks ago that the ecosystem in those water tubes differ between Europe and the United States. It's a big difference of the ecosystem which is in there. In Europe, for example, the inside of shower heads was researched. The ecosystem in the inner side of the shower heads is different. In Germany, for example, you have very rich biodiversity inside, and so you have also little crabs. And when you're, for example, when your coffee tastes a little strange, that's perhaps not the brand. It's perhaps because of the ecosystem. Here in the United States, you have a lot of chlorine in your water. Therefore, many of the species are no longer there, but what is left are aggressive bacteria species, which you want to kill with chlorine. But what is killed is the ecosystem inside, the bacteria left, because they are very flexible, but not the crabs and so on. Perhaps your coffee tastes a little bit better, I don't know, than in Germany, but you have a lot of chlorine. So you have a different ecosystem just because of chlorine here. I think, I don't know how much time we have. How much is left?
5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay, so we go to trees, because it's a tree talk. Whereas, I always do that to make you curious about reading a book. Okay, no, you can read that. Yeah, clever, huh? No, coming back to the trees. Trees are very important for our ecosystem. And perhaps I tell you something about climate change. I don't know if you've read McLean's interview, but it's a Canadian magazine. It was shortened, and I feel sorry for that, because I said, when you want to protect nature, just keep your hands in your pockets. But that doesn't mean carry on, go and live like we always live. No, it means when you want to protect nature, you don't have to do anything concerning nature. Leave nature as it is, it's still able to do the job. So we don't have to manage protected areas. That's what I meant. And when we look at climate change, what's actually going on is that we have big clear cuts in southeastern United States, big clear cuts in swamp forests for European power plants. Now there is coal being burned for electricity, and now because timber is regarded to be carbon neutral, which is nonsense, it's like coal, but it's regarded to be carbon neutral, and therefore those big forests are felled and shredded into those little pellets. They are shipped to Europe, and they should reduce the carbon depth of those coal power plants. And meanwhile, those swamps, which are clear-cutted now, they are gassing out gigantic amounts of carbon dioxide. So all in all, it's 3 times worse than burning coal. And yeah, that's what we are doing to fight climate change. It's crazy. It's better to let trees do the job, because they store carbon, as we know. But which is even more important, trees can reduce the temperature. That's what they always do, what they love, because trees love to have cool summers, love to have humid summers, and therefore they sweat together. It's like being in a sauna. And grown-up tree, big tree, can gas out as much as 500 liters water per day. And when you come to the forest, it's not because of the shadow that it becomes cooler. It's because of all the water and the humidity. And for example, the difference from a city, inner city, to an intact forest, which we rarely have, even here in the United States. The temperature difference is more, I just like to calculate it in Fahrenheit, I think 25 degrees Fahrenheit. From the inner city to an intact forest in summertime. So what we're talking about concerning climate change, we're talking about temperature rising between, let's say, 4 or 5 degrees Fahrenheit. What a forest can do is 3 times more. And therefore we just have to leave it on its own. That's all. So climate, the fight against climate change could be so easy, but the problem is when you tell the people we should do nothing about the forest, just leave them on their own. That sounds too easy. That's the problem. And we like to have modern technique and filter the CO2 out of the air and press it down in the underground and things like that. That create jobs and so on, you know, all those arguments. But in reality, we have the best technique available out there. They're not trees. They're doing their job since 300 million years. Very good. And nowadays we try to make it better, we make it worse, and that's not a good idea. Perhaps at last, just to say how important water is concerning forests. In the Amazon rainforest, perhaps you read that there are more and more droughts, heavy droughts, which weren't there for decades. And then Russian researchers found out why. Usually a forest brings water into the continents. Land is higher than the seaside, as you know, and the clouds are drifting into the continents, and after around about 400 miles, almost all clouds had lost the rain, lost the water, and then you have blue skies in the desert, on average. After 400 miles. So, but if there is a forest in this range, then the water gases out and trees sweat together, as I told. There's the building of new clouds, they are drifting deeper into the continents, rain down again. If the forest, the same process continues. So, in the distance of 2,000 miles away from the coast in Brazil, there's still the same amount of rainfall as at the coast. But not nowadays, because the Brazilians cut down the coastal rainforest. So they destroyed their water pump for their continent. And now they are aware, oh, what have we done? The problem is to restore those forests or this water pump that takes around about 100 years. Well, the question is, do we have the time for that? And therefore, we should leave our forests wherever we still have them, and not cut them down and bring them to Europe, as we're doing it now. So that's what trees are able to do, and the good news are the trees are able to are still able to do the job. The forests are still able to recover. The only question is, trees are always on the slow side. It takes some time, and we are always impatient. Yeah, but we think the future is hopeless. No, it's not hopeless, but it takes time. And whenever we want to have a turn, we can do it. It's better to do it now than in 10 years, but it's better in 10 years than in 20 years. And I don't like those talks where humans are regarded as pests of the planet, or those turning points of no return when the climate goes in the wrong direction and we can do whatever we want. There's no way back. That's nonsense. There's always a way back. You just have to start. Therefore, I love the work with children. And I don't know if you have heard about that. I think you have 2 years Fridays for Future for the school kids. Yeah? Yeah, a demonstration. I think it started from the Swedish girl, Greta. Yeah, the young generation still has a lot of energy and it's now pushing us old guys and girls into the right direction, and therefore there's hope. And when we have a change in mind, then we get also a change in the force, and then we will have a wonderful